So you want to learn how to bid concrete projects? We're in the right spot. I just went through and downloaded an Excel spreadsheet of every estimate my concrete business has sent out since 2021, and we've sent out 2,780 estimates totaling $29,628,650.84. So first I'm going to talk about the best method for estimating concrete projects, then we're going to hop in and I'm going to show you guys how I do that really fast and really easy. Then I'm going to show you, once you actually get the number, how I actually take that, put it into a formal estimate and send it off to a customer. And if you don't know me, my name is Tyler Link. I own and operate my own $4 million concrete company, and I also own Contractor CEO, where I help other concrete contractors grow with their marketing strategies, sales strategies, and numbers and financials. All right, first let's just talk about estimating concrete in general. Let's talk about what actually goes into the price of a concrete project. So in doing a quote, we really have to factor in 4 different things. We have to factor in the time that it will take, the materials that you're gonna use on the project, any miscellaneous expenses like pumps or subcontractor costs, etc., plus the amount of overhead that your company is going to use doing the project. Basically, how expensive is it for your company to produce this project on the back end? And so with that being said, most concrete contractors use something called price per square foot to bid out projects. But the thing is, if you really think about it, price per square foot doesn't actually give you a breakdown of all of the things that I just talked about. Number 1 is time. With price per square foot, you really can't estimate how much time a project's gonna take. You can use an average, but then what happens if a job is harder or easier than normal? You really can't factor that in with price per square foot. So to demonstrate why cost per square foot really isn't the most accurate way to do things, let's look at an example. Here's a project on the screen. This is what I would consider a very easy project. So imagine before this concrete was really put in, this was a very flat piece of ground. Let's just say that we didn't have to do any tear out. There was nothing in our way. Equipment could drive right up to the project. All we had to do was form it and then pour it. So what I would consider a very easy project. Now let's consider this other project. It's probably about the same amount of square footage, but as you can tell, this project is way harder to do than the first project. So what makes it more hard? Let's just say that the access is terrible, that you had to come in, you had to demo out a deck beforehand, you had to level out the ground, you had to install all these steps. And so one, what did that affect? It affected the time. So even though it's the same amount of square footage, your time to do the project went way up. What else was affected? Well, obviously the second project is gonna use way more materials than project number 1, right? And cost per square foot, it really doesn't factor that in. And lastly, because this project is gonna take way more time, it's technically gonna cost your company a lot more money. Let me explain. The second project is gonna take a lot more equipment time, for instance. It's gonna take a lot more time with your people on site. So that means your insurance costs, your phone bill, your marketing, all of that is gonna be spread over a much longer period of time, meaning that it's technically a lot less efficient for you as a company to do project number 2 is project number 1. Don't worry though, the new estimating method that I'm about to share with you will show you how you're gonna bid differently on the first project compared to the second project, and we're gonna factor everything in, everything from more time, more material, and more company overhead, because at the end of the day, all you really want is to send an accurate quote to the customer, so that way if you win the project, you're actually gonna make money. So the way that I actually calculate my pricing that I send to the customer is a very simple equation. All I do is I take the man hours that I'm gonna have on a project, I multiply that by my man hour hourly rate, which includes paying my labor, paying the people actually in the field, plus paying my overhead amount per hour. Then I add in my materials and my miscellaneous expenses, and then I multiply that by my markup. But just so I can explain this a little bit better, let me share my screen and I'll show you exactly how I do this. All right, here we are. I'm gonna show you how easy this formula that I just went over with you really is in theory and in concept. And if you use a spreadsheet like this, by the way, link to the spreadsheet down below in the description. If you use a spreadsheet like this, it makes it unbelievably easy. You don't have to. You could also build one of these yourself, totally up to you. But let's just say, for instance, you enter in 500 square feet of concrete. I instantly get a quote, and this is also why I said price per square foot doesn't matter. We also have a sliding scale here. One, let's just say if this was a very easy project, it might be as low as 5,571. If this was a very difficult project, it'd be as high as 8,738 for 500 square feet of concrete, but that doesn't even include extra materials or anything like that, okay? And the only thing that this is doing is we're adding up all of our material costs, we're adding up our hours, and then we're multiplying that times our man hour hourly rate. We're adding up all of our materials, and we're multiplying that by our markup, which for me and my business is 1.4. And we add all that together and it gets us our price. But let me show you actually how we do this and how we calculate this. So by far the most important thing is, see on the back side here, your man hour hourly rate. And that's broken down into 2 different components, okay? So one is we have your average cost per man hour on a project, and then you have your overhead cost per man hour. So your average cost per man hour on a project, that's actually very easy. All you do is you add together, and I'll show you here what the spreadsheet is doing. You add together for me, scroll back down. You add together basically all of your hourly pay. You add all that up, then you divide that by the number of people that you have, and that spits out your average hourly pay. And then the one thing that you have to not forget is what's called labor burden, which that's this here, which for me in my state is 20%. And what labor burden is, unfortunately for us as business owners, if we pay someone hourly, we're not just paying their hourly rate. I also have to pay taxes on top of what I pay them. So that's labor burden. So this is basically saying, hey, I pay my guys $30 an hour on average. I have 20% extra on top of that for labor burden. So I actually pay my crew people $36 an hour. Now, here is the tricky thing to find out. And again, link in the description for the spreadsheet if you want to use the spreadsheet. But if you don't, I'm actually going to show you how to do this totally manual too. So there's a couple different components in what goes in this calculation. First is you need to make a list of all of your overhead expenses. So that's everything from like if you rent out porta potties for your job site, like all of your softwares. For instance, let's just say that you're also going to have Jobber on here. For instance, I am now partnered with Jobber, by the way, free link to Jobber with 20% off in the description. So let's just say that you spend $10,000 on, actually Jobber's not nearly that expensive, $3,500. Basically what you do is you go through line item by line item and you put down all of your overhead costs for your business. By the way, this is just a blank one. This is what we use generically. This is not based on my company's stuff. And if you get this spreadsheet, I have trainings on exactly what to include in here as well. You want to include things like marketing, any type of lunches that you buy for you, your employees, stuff like that. You have things like phone bill, vehicle wraps, if you have that, bad debt. That's if someone doesn't pay you, right? We have warranty expense. We have office supplies. We have general liability insurance, Facebook ads, employee uniforms, your CPA and bookkeeper. Maybe you need a legal contingency, right? Because maybe, for instance, I already have that in there. Yep, I was gonna say I didn't see that, but maybe you need to pay for a lawyer once a year, right? To make sure you're collecting money and you're keeping your business safe. Basically, what you want to think about is every single expense that your business possibly has on the back end, put that in here, okay? Now what we need to go do, add all that up. Now, we have overhead wages, right? Do you have any salespeople, any project managers? Do you pay yourself a salary? Do you pay an office manager? Start putting all of those expenses on and then add those up and then get the total for that. Now you have to consider overhead vehicles. So this is like truck and car costs. Include both your payment for that and your insurance. Then also on top of that, our trucks don't run for free, right? We have to put gas in them. We have to repair them. We have to have maintenance, etc. So really what you are trying to do at this stage, and I know this is a lot of work up front, and I totally get that, but I'm telling you, when you do it, you're going to be able to produce bids so much more accurately, so much more all-inclusive, and way faster. It's kind of like one of those things, right? You know when people say work on your business, not in your business? Well, this is working on your business. This is how you actually do that, okay? So now you put in your overhead equipment or your overhead vehicle total. And then same thing for your equipment, right? So think of skid steers, mini skids, excavators, dump trucks, dump trailers, you name it. Put in everything here. Again, the payments, the fuel, repairs, maintenance, insurance, depreciation, you name it, you put it in here. Now here is where the magic happens, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna add all of those things together. So say for this fake business that we built together, or that was, I guess, pre-built for you, and I'm showing you very quickly, you have $565,000 in overhead. And if you don't know, if you miss this next part, this is actually the important part, okay? Because it's one thing to know how much your business costs you to operate. It's another thing to know how to include that cost in your estimates. And that's what we're about to cover. So here is phase number 2. Number 1, we have our overhead. Here's number 2. We're going to put down how many people that we have on the crew, how many months they work for us per year, and how many hours they average per week, okay? Then what we're going to do is we take the months worked times the hours per week times 4, and then that will get us our total amount of hours for the year. Then what we do is we divide all of that up, okay? And again, if you get the spreadsheet, all of this auto calculates for you. But if you want to do this manually, just literally go through and like on a sheet of paper, just write this stuff down. oh yeah, I have 6 guys, they work for me 12 months a year. Like this is literally how easy this is, guys. I have 6 guys, they work for me 12 months a year. They work on average of 40 hours per week, and there's 4 weeks per month. So that means I have 11,000 hours total in my business. So here's actually why this is important, right? So with this business, they have 12,000 hours, 96. Then what we do is we take this total number, or the total number of overhead right here, and then we divide that by our amount of hours that we have available to sell. Basically, the amount of hours, like that's the max amount of time that we could spend on job sites is literally just that. Now we know that this business, it costs this business for every hour that one person is on a job site, $46.78 per hour. Okay? So now we have everything that we need to do an accurate bid. And so let's revisit real fast. So number 1, we have our direct labor cost. We have our overhead cost per man hour. Now we're going to add both of those things up, which is going to give us our total cost per man hour on a project. Now we just want to charge the customer more than what we are getting or what it costs us to do a project. And so what's so beautiful about this number is it incorporates everything from equipment costs to labor costs to overhead costs and marketing costs and insurance costs and legal costs and everything. It's all wrapped in. Now, when you bid a project, you're actually bidding for true profit, not just gross profit. So let's show you how that works on the back end, okay? So when we go to pricing, and I'm actually going to show you as now, we're going to do a fake bid, and it's not that fake because I actually just went and saw this customer yesterday, and I'm going to show you guys how I actually do bids here inside my company. So I did all the measurements already, but let's just say, for instance, that you didn't get a chance to go out and measure this project. All you have to do is take, length times width, essentially, and get your square foot. And then if you were doing bids the old way, you would just take that square foot, multiply it by your square foot price, and you would give the customer their price. You could still do that, but the way that we're going to calculate this is a little bit different. So for this area here, it's 1,500 square foot. Also, what else do we want to take into account? Like what we talked about earlier, is the level of access. For this house, this is very, very accessible. This is just a field. There's literally nothing that can be damaged out here. It does not matter. So I will be able to take my truck and trailer and equipment, pull it around the house, and literally park it right in here to do all of the work. Okay, so it's very, very accessible. Also, do I have to do a bunch of demo? No, I do not. I know that on this project, there is not that much demo, and everything is very, very flat. So I would consider this a very easy project, okay? Maybe not super easy, but at least easier than normal because of all the things that we just mentioned. So I go to my quick quote here, I plug in 1426, and I go up here and I say, hey, this project is what I would consider easy, but maybe not super easy because I still have to do a little bit of tear out. Okay, so now right off the bat, I'm met with a price of $15,000. There is 0 steps here. I'm gonna add 2 extra yards of concrete just to be safe because I do not wanna be short on my order. I do have to use a concrete pump because although I can fit equipment back there, I don't want the concrete truck going through the field and it's just gonna be easier to park up in front. 4 inches of concrete, 2 inches of base rock. Now I just very quickly measure my lineal feet of forms. And again, you could measure this in person, it's up to you. I am pouring right up against the house. So I have 145 feet of forms, okay? 145 feet of 4-inch forms. And I am gonna have some demo costs associated, probably about 3 dump trailers on average of $200 per trailer. So I have about $600 in demo costs. Rebar size of number 3, 36-inch on center. And my spreadsheet automatically guesses that this project is gonna take me 101 man hours. And so let's break that down, right? So it's 1,400 square foot. Let's just say, for instance, this is gonna take 2 days with my crew of 3 guys. So I have 3 guys times 10-hour days. So I have 30 hours per day times 2. So I have 60 total man hours on this project. Now I have to send people back and pour about 20 yards of concrete. So I'm probably gonna send about 5 finishers back, and that'll take them about 30 hours the next day to pour. And then we're just gonna overestimate a little bit, and we're gonna say it takes about 10 hours to clean up, strip forms, and then maybe a little bit of extra just in case our prep takes longer than we think. We have about 100 man hours, which our spreadsheet already guesses about 101. Again, let's just say if this was a very easy project, right? Only 83 hours. If this is a super difficult project, 154 hours. And you see here, notice this, the price per square foot. This job can go anywhere from $11 a square foot up to $15.67. The only thing that is changing is how long this project is taking. That is why this is so much more efficient, so much better, so much more accurate than cost per square foot. And again, if you have a spreadsheet like this, where it does this for you, as you can tell, it's very, very simple. So now I have my price here. Just a second, I'm going to log into the software on the back end to show you guys, now that I have this price, how do I actually plug it into a software that then turns it into a professional estimate and then send it to my customer. But before we do that, this is the last thing that I want to show you guys. So this is our project price. This is the price that we came up with that is our very accurate price that includes all of our costs. It includes our labor costs, that's our direct labor cost for the project, our material costs, that's our gross profit. So some of you guys are like, oh, I'm making $8,000. You're greedy, Tyler. You're making $8,000. Well, I got to take out my pump cost, number one. But number two, my business is costing me $4,725.08 in this example. That's everything from equipment to office staff to salespeople to marketing to insurance. All of that is wrapped up into this estimate. That's how much it costs. So in this example, I'm making $3,408 of net profit or 19.75%. Let's just say if you're like, man, Tyler, that's not enough. This customer is a huge pain in the ass and I do not want to do work for them if I can avoid it. So the only way I'm going to do work for them is if I charge a heck of a lot of money. So I want to mark this up an additional 20%. Now my price goes from 17 grand to 20,700. All of that money goes directly to net profit because it's just pure markup and none of your costs actually go up. So now you're going to make 6,860. Totally up to you. This is how I do that. Or maybe you're like, hey, I need work on the schedule right now. I want to do a slight discount on my job, so I'm going to take off 10%. Now my price is down here and I still make a little bit of net profit and I can keep my guys busy. Totally up to you. That is exactly how I do quotes. So now, again, link for the spreadsheet is in the description. And if you want to see how I actually do these estimates, I'm going to log into that in the back end and I'm going to show you how I actually plug in this number, how I would type up the description, my terms and conditions, and then I'll show you what the estimates actually look like. All right, now we are logged into the back-end software where we're actually going to go ahead and send out this quote. And I made myself a little fake person in here, which is me. So we're going to be creating a fake quote for me, but I'm going to show you guys kind of how that looks and all that good stuff here. So sorry, I'm just moving my face out of the way. So I'm going to say new quote, client name, we're going to pick me, job title, we're just going to say Tyler's Sweet Project. Yep. That is exactly right. Now we're going to come in here, choose one of my pre-existing services that I already have put in. And what I really like about Jobber is it automatically puts in basically everything that I program on the front end, which I just put in blank square footage. I almost always do 4-inch concrete, 4,000 PSI, broom finish, rebar, and 3-foot centers. So that's automatically put in. And it just says demo existing concrete and landscape in the area. Describe below. This is square footage. So the square footage, so what did we have here? So I go back to my quick quote, 1426, so not too bad, 1426 square feet. And then I might put like a quick note and say broken down into 2 separate patios with walkways in between and connecting driveway and patios. And then I might just say something like replace areas in the same footprint as before. Anyways, I'm gonna do something very, very basic like this. I am going to, my terms and conditions are auto saved in there. Sometimes I do break down my my areas into different work areas. If the customer is like, hey, I may or may not do one patio but not the other, then I'll kind of quote those separately. But for this customer, they want to do everything. And then I come back here. I literally just copy my price from the quick quote. I paste it into my unit price. Now my price is accurate. And then lastly, it's literally, I could save the quote and I could send it, which obviously I'm not going to be doing that because I don't want to, I guess I could send it to myself, but it doesn't really matter. And let me see here if I can get a preview. Let's see here, send his email. I'm just want to show you guys what this quote looks like very fast. So yeah, when you're sending out a estimate, obviously you want to have your logo, your brand, You want to have unit price and a thorough description of the work that you're going to be doing in there. And then lastly, I highly recommend that you guys put in, some good terms and conditions. For all of our clients here at Contractor CEO, they get access to my existing terms and conditions that took me years and years and years and tons of headaches to figure out. But yeah, that's everything, guys. Thanks for watching this video. The link for the spreadsheet is down in the description, as well as a free trial and 20% off of Jobber if you're interested to set that up so you can start sending out quotes to your customer. Give this video a like if it was useful and share it with your friends, and I'll see you in the next video.